What's up, YouTube? I am back with a video after a 2-week hiatus. I'm perfectly good, all is great, my mood's fine, all of that jazz. But this coronavirus shit is insane. So I figured it'd be time for me to, upload a new video. Here we go. So the coronavirus, this has been kind of insane. Not kind of, it's like insane. Everything is shut down essentially. I mean, I'm pretty sure wherever you are in the world, you've been affected. I'm currently in Atlanta, and a lot of people are working from home. I would say the majority of the city, because people are self quarantining and practicing social distancing, which is just not trying to go out and see people or get into contact with people, because that's how the virus spreads even further. And it's less about panic over oh, we're all gonna die, this virus is killing people, and more some people can't get this illness. And even if I'm fine, if I were to get sick, like my father who has ALS, or my grandmother who's 90 something, they wouldn't be fine. So all of that's happening right now. They have not put us on an official lockdown. A lot of businesses have closed to in dining, restaurants, movie theaters are closed, almost everything is closed. It's insane because Atlanta has some of the worst traffic in the country, and there's no traffic outside. So that's been I guess the plus side. But I wanted to talk to y'all more about, I guess, if you're feeling sort of nervous or if you have anxiety over what's going on. I personally do not know what that feels like. I don't have anxiety over the coronavirus necessarily. I've been seeing a lot of articles and a lot of reports and just a lot of people online talking about how their OCD and anxiety has flared immensely during this time. And I thought, I could just give some tips as to maybe why I personally don't feel that way, having struggled with both of those issues. But for some reason, I don't really see this hasn't really flared up in me. This hasn't caused a flare up. I think back to the summer when I did have a lot of anxiety around the rainforests being on fire and around climate change. And whenever something like that happens, I do have a lot of anxiety because it just seems so bleak. We're all just gonna end up dying, in the future, because we're killing the planet. This, I think, is because I'm trying to look more at the facts towards the virus. I preface this by saying that I do believe that we need to take precautions. I do believe in social distancing to a degree. I do believe that this illness is very serious, and I understand that it impacts a lot of people, who are older or who have, bad immune systems, or who are just susceptible. And it is something that is very serious that we need to take, precautions against. Wash your hands. But I also believe that, when I'm trying to put this in perspective, or calm myself down, or really realize okay, why do I not feel anxious, or even my OCD isn't flaring up. It's because let's just start with the anxiety piece. I try to look at the facts. So again, this is super serious, but at the same time, I think back to all the different pandemics that have gone throughout the world. I briefly remember swine flu when I was younger. I was still a child, but I don't remember things closing down like this at all. I remember it being a huge thing, and then nothing at all. So I do believe that things will get better. I also think about while people still die from the flu and influenza and diseases every single day, every month, every year, blah, 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 modern science has progressed a lot, in the sense that if we get sick, there's a lot we can do versus 100 years ago, this would have wiped out the entire world. I look at China and I see that, while for the first time they've had more recoveries than actual cases. And I think, the people are recovering from this. And I think that's what helps me a lot. I try to think about okay, I know that I could get sick. I know that there's germs everywhere. I know that the world seems like it's ending, but it's not. It's just precautions to make sure things don't get worse. And now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm this is not really helping. I don't think this is helping y'all. If I have anxiety and I know my anxiety is irrational, me saying this is you just being okay, I've heard this 1,000 times. So maybe I should think about it in a different way. I think that during this time, it's really important to just stay present, and focus on what you can control. So you can't control what's going out there in the public, how many people are getting this disease, how many people are dying, how many people are recovering. You can't really control the statistics. So maybe focusing on the statistics for me helps me, but for you, if you really have, this is really, really a problem, I think just focusing on what you can control. Like if you have anxiety, it's not necessarily a bad thing to stay inside, get some puzzles, get some things that you really enjoy doing, read things that sort of relax you. I think that's the biggest thing. And just like kind of realizing that this will blow over. I think another thing about anxiety is that a lot of people aren't working, and that kind of builds up even more because it's like, okay, there's this virus. I have anxiety about the world ending, and then I also have anxiety about not being able to work, about my kids, about like my life has been completely uprooted. Now that I do feel, my routine has been like just obliterated. And I think that it's really important to stay again in present. So focus on like, okay, I know I can't do this. I know I can't do this, but like, what can I do? And give like 110% to that. So, for example, I am working from home, and I really don't want to, but I am realizing that like, okay, the day will continue to go if I can just focus on work and nothing else and just zone in on it. That helps me because everything else sort of just fades to the background. And it's still there. It's still there, and it's still like I think about it. I'm like, eesh. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I can focus on this and I'm doing this right now and I don't have to worry about anything else. For the OCD factor, that's a little bit harder for me to describe because I really haven't felt much of that at all. A lot of my OCD it does revolve around cleaning, but it's very, very weird. So like I don't really, it's involuntary, like I don't have control over it. So it's more like around organization. So I like things to be organized and like clean to a sense, but it revolves around my house, like and where I am. So when I've had people over in the last few days and they've come, I have had like flare-ups where I'm like, okay, are these people like washing their hands? These people are like touching me. I hope they have hand sanitizer. Like that stuff does freak me out, and I kind of just have to remember that like I don't want to panic people. Like that's the biggest thing about this is that like I don't want to be like afraid of people around me, and it's really, really hard. So I kind of just like keep quiet. These tips aren't really tips, you guys. These tips are like just saying like, yeah, shit sucks. I don't really know. It's just that like I just deal with it. I just shut down, and that's not beneficial, and that's not even a tip. But yeah, so I don't know where I'm going with that. I think in all, but as it relates to OCD, I think that a big thing again is just realizing doing what you feel comfortable, and doing what helps you. I think that this time people might expect a lot from you or might think that like you're blowing things out of proportion or that you're overreacting or that like they just don't get it, but I do. So I think it's important to really just honor that in yourself. So even if you're like concerned that like, okay, I feel like I'm going batshit crazy, I feel like my anxiety's out of control, I need isolate like what you need. If it's you need to just like disinfect everything, or like if you need to write down your worries, or if you need to talk to people, convey that and say like, hey, I know that some of these things are irrational, but like this is like what I'm going through right now, and really just realize that you can encompass that space. Like you are not too much, and that you are allowed to feel these feelings, no matter how irrational they are, no matter how silly they seem, no matter what people say about you. Like, oh, this is like gonna blow over. It's fine. Like I was saying when I first started this video, I was like, I think about statistics. That really helps me. But again, that's like not a tip in terms of like how you're feeling. So no matter what, even if you do know that like this is gonna blow over, people are recovering, blah blah blah, you're still allowed to feel how you feel. And I think that's the most important thing about these times, is really just realizing that like in stressful times you feel how you feel and you don't have to apologize about that. Yeah, this video is not like my finest video as a return, but I'm just like all over the place because I really don't know how to feel about the coronavirus. Like I really don't think that it's impacted my mental health, to the extent that I've seen people talking about it online. But because I'm really like trying to be here for y'all, I thought I would make a video, and I feel like I just made things worse. So I don't know if y'all can help each other, but comment, and let me know how y'all are doing. Are y'all quarantined? What country are y'all in? What are y'all doing to sort of ease those anxiety feelings? Again, like for me, putting it into perspective and understanding the like stats of everything logically helps me like then deduce like, okay, logically, as of right now, like this is not apocalypse level. We will be fine. Things might get worse, but we will be fine in the end. If that doesn't work for you, let me know what does work for you, because as things continue to lock down, my anxiety might flare up, my OCD might flare up. I like hate people touching me, and I hate people touching me normally with their hands because it's dirty and like I don't know what they've been doing. But now it's just like that is something that like gets me. I just haven't had contact with many people, so like it hasn't really like affected me. But yeah, let me know what y'all are doing. I want to hear from y'all. Remember, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, but wash your hands and sanitizer. Don't just use like hand sanitizer. And if you're just gonna do one, pick the hand washing. And stay safe out here, stay healthy. I love y'all, and I will see y'all later.